now NewsNation political analyst Mick Mulvaney. He is there in South Carolina, in Charleston. He's been watching the speech. Good morning to you, sir. What's the mood in there, and what was it like listening to that speech firsthand? I said a moment ago it was part church service, part pep rally.
It was. In fact, I sort of treated it like I used to treat the Trump rallies. I watched the first 5 or 10 minutes from the seats with the folks, and then I walked around and sat in the back so that I could see the people's faces. It was a rally, but it wasn't a Trump rally. Trump rallies are angry, and they're always finding people to beat up on. This was very uplifting. It was very positive. There was a certain Southern Baptist element to it. I think that's just Tim's personality, but I've never seen a political rally quite like this one.
The other thing I think, Mick, that people are looking for when they see a speech like this is charisma, right? And he came out at times, and you could tell, he went to the script only when the script wasn't in the right place, but he was off script a lot. His ability to connect with that crowd. If you didn't know Tim Scott before this speech, do you think that people got a better idea of who he is and his strengths now?
Well, certainly for folks who watch it on TV, keep in mind everybody in this building is for Tim Scott for the most part. So, I mean, you would expect that. But for a newcomer to see this, or I try to imagine it through the eyes of someone who might see this for the first time in Iowa or New Hampshire, it can be very compelling. It's pretty Southern. There's no question about it. Again, it's got that Southern Baptist feel to it. Be curious to see how that plays in the Midwest. But the message was very uplifting. It was very positive. He attacked the Democrats a little bit, but wasn't very nasty about it. I don't think he mentioned Donald Trump's name a single time. Didn't mention any other politician's name, I don't think, a single time. It was just a very uplifting message about victory and cohesion and what, his story. So again, it's been a long time since we've seen almost a purely positive political speech in this country, but we saw one here today.
Right. Does he ride this wave until Florida Governor Ron DeSantis makes his announcement, and then does he lose the oxygen in the room?
Sure. I mean, that's the way the business works, right? He'll have the news to himself now, or at least the political news to himself for the next 24 hours or so, maybe 36. But of course, if Ron DeSantis announces later this week, then he'll get that. The real question on my mind is what happens next for this campaign? When they go to Iowa, will they be received like this, or will it be will it fall on flatter ears because it's a different audience? Keep in mind, everybody here knows Tim, everybody here likes Tim, so this was, and it should be, that's what you do when you make an announcement. But I'll be curious to see the first other audience and how this is received in those early primary states.
Mick, he also was very specific about the issues at hand and what he would do if he were commander-in-chief. Immigration, the fentanyl crisis, the drug cartels, rebuilding our military, the threat from China. I mean, he ticked off the entire list of things. What do you think resonates most at this point? What will drive Americans most come 2024?
Yeah, none of that. Keep in mind, every single Republican is probably going to say about the same thing. There may be small variations on policy and so forth. And if there was a slow part of this speech today, it was during the policy part of the presentation. So no, what people are going to walk out of here remembering is how they felt. They're going to forget what he said about policy. Again, it'll be completely in line with all the other Republicans, but they'll remember the emotion that was attached to this speech. I think that's what folks take away from this, and that's what Tim will try to be sort of convincing people of as he takes this show on the road.
So the former president immediate to respond, wishing Tim Scott good luck. Does that indicate to you that he doesn't feel he's a threat?
Not yet. Once you hear Donald Trump attacking Tim Scott, then he will consider him to be a threat. Right now, I think all of the former president's attention is on Ron DeSantis.
All right, so let's switch gears and talk about Governor DeSantis. He could announce at some point this week. That's what we're expecting. What are you hearing, and what might that announcement look like in comparison to what we just saw?
Yeah, that is a great question, because here's how I sort of look at it. And I know both these gentlemen. I know Nikki Haley as well. I know most of the candidates for president, and they're sort of falling into a couple different camps. The Ron DeSantis is at the top of this camp that says, look, I'm the same as Donald Trump in so many ways. I'll be your fighter. I'll be the one who goes up against, the woke progressive left. I'll be the aggressive battler in the political arena, but I can do it without all the baggage that Donald Trump brings. Tim Scott is something entirely different. Tim Scott, again, didn't mention Donald Trump at all. He's sort of the anti-Donald Trump at this point. So a lot, in my mind, it comes down to what will the primary voters want? Will they want Donald Trump? They have that choice. Will they want sort of Donald Trump, all of the same sort of packages, the same sort of ideas, the same sort of energy and strategy without all the baggage? That's Ron DeSantis. If they want something entirely different, if they really do want to bring themselves together, bring the country together, and to heal, they've got Tim Scott. So those are the three sort of distinct lanes that I see.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.